All right. Hey there. How are you doing? Pete Moriarty here. If you are on the live stream, please make sure you say hello, give me a wave, give me a chat. We've been having some issues with the live stream, so I left you waiting a couple of minutes there in the preview room just to make sure the live is working. But fingers crossed, it all looks okay. Done a software update, and yeah, hopefully it's all going to be okay. But welcome to the live. Hey, if this is your first one, thanks for being here. My name is Pete Moriarty. I've helped literally tens of thousands of business owners all over the world with, and I've got some feedback here. I better get rid of that. I've helped business owners all over the world with Google Workspace, small business tech tools, helping you get systemized, organized, and build a scalable business. That's what we're all about here. And my philosophy is what I call done with you IT. And what does that mean? Well, done for you is you send your money to someone and they do all the things for you, but you don't really understand how things work. And do it yourself is you go online, you watch a bunch of videos, and you do it by yourself, right? But that's not the best use of your time as a business owner. I think right in the middle is the right way to do things, which is done with you, which is you are responsible for the strategy, and then you get someone else with the hands and the feet to actually do the implementation. Now, that might be my company, it might be itGenius, it might be someone else you find online, it might be a friend, it might be a contractor, it might be one of your staff members who's really tech savvy. That's fine. I don't really care. This channel is about helping to educate business owners. And if you decide to take the step and do business with us, we think itGenius is the most convenient and best value solution. If you want to get tech stuff done, well, then we'd love to have you as a customer. So in these live streams, I have basically an open Q&A. So if you're joining on the live, please make sure you say hello on the live. I can see there are people watching. So I know you're there, you lurkers. So make sure you say hello. Let me know where you're watching from as well. We've got customers in over 30 countries now, which is pretty crazy. And many of our customers are from the United States, from Australia, from Canada, from the UK. But as I said, 30 countries. We've got people from absolutely everywhere. And we usually have some pretty interesting locales in our audience. So make sure you say hello and let me know where you're from. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to type into the chat today. We'll see how I go. But for some reason, my chat interface on the live is not working. So I can't drop you links into the chat, but that's okay. I'm sure you're going to be able to find it. If you want to ask a question live, I'm going to be answering questions live. And that's using my little system here called Slido. And you can access that by going to let me give you the correct link. It's ask.itgenius.com. So ask.itgenius.com. And that'll get you to this page here, or a page that looks like it. And you can submit your question, and I'll answer it live. I don't always get to all of the chats. I can see the YouTube chat coming through now, which is great. But if you want to ask a question and have it answered, maybe you're even watching the replay, and you're not live, but you want me to answer it next time I do a Q&A. I usually do about one a fortnight. You can drop it straight into here. It's ask.itgenius.com. And just in case, if our live stream is interrupted, I will rejoin. So just hang 5. If it gets interrupted, just go back to the channel page on YouTube or my Facebook page, Peter Moriarty on Facebook, or LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn, and just wait, and another live stream will come back. But if you're confused at all or you're worried about where to watch, YouTube is usually the most consistent place to watch from. Every now and again we have an issue and I've got to restart the stream. If you go to YouTube, just refresh a couple of times, it'll eventually come back. Okay, with all that done, Ryan, welcome from Chicago. Ian, welcome from Auckland. I have cousins in Remuera, which is a very nice part of town. I've been told is the nicest part, one of the nicest parts of town in Auckland. But don't hold it against me. I love Auckland. I've been there many times. And I was even taken there by my nana when I was 18 months old. She took me there without my mum, which is pretty crazy. That's the things we used to do in the 90s, hey, before everyone put mobile phones in their kids' hands when everyone turns 8 years old. Okay, so here we go. Let's answer some questions. Let's talk about Google Workspace, and we'll jump right in. How do I, Anonymous asks, how do I convert past employees' email accounts and also retain their emails without using a license? Well, that's a great question. Every business owner has this problem. If you have a bunch of staff in your Workspace account and staff will eventually move on for whatever reason, you need to do something with their emails. And you don't want to lose their data, but you want to do something smart and you don't want to have to keep paying for their license. So what can we do? Well, we've got a few different options on how to handle this inside our Workspace account. Now, when we go to delete an account, I may as well just open up my admin panel here. So this is obviously admin.google.com to get into our admin account. It's going to ask me to sign in here again. When I want to delete an account, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to my list of users, right? So my list of users, I'm going to go to my directory and then my user list here. And let's say I want to delete someone's user account because they've finished in the business now. Now, poor Isa, she always gets the bad end of this when I do demos because her name starts with A. Delete selected users. Okay, so I'll go to delete a user, and this is the screen that's going to pop up for me. It's going to give me some different options to delete the user. Now, what most people do is they'll just transfer the user's data in Google Drive and Calendar and whatnot to another user, and that's pretty straightforward. My recommendation would, of course, be to include stuff that's not shared with anybody else, just so you can capture all of the data that that user actually holds. But until recently, there was no way to save their emails. You would delete an account and their emails would disappear. You know, obviously that's not a great option for most business owners. So Google said, okay, we're going to give you some tools to migrate data, right? And from there, okay, cool. We've now got a migration tool. So we can use Google's migration tool here. And so the process that Google suggests you do is to migrate that user's data using the migration tool here, place it in another mailbox. I'm going to tell you where my recommendation is in a second, and then go ahead and delete this user. Now, the problem is that most business owners will just migrate this to their own account, or in some cases, they'll migrate it to another staff member's account, which is also not a great idea because in both those cases, it makes a mess. The third thing that people usually do is they just rename the user account. So Isa is no longer part of the company, right? And so instead of actually deleting Isa's account, someone would just rename the account. How do I do that? Is there an edit button? Or maybe I have to actually open. Here we go. Okay, rename user. Sometimes people would just rename the user to the new user's username, and that will retain all the old data. But basically what you're doing in that case is someone's got to sign into this old account, which is just like full of trash and full of someone else's history. And if they've got direct messages and those kind of things, you know, the privacy implications are not great. So what do we do? Okay, we don't want to migrate it into another account because that's going to make a mess. We don't want to just delete the account because we want to keep the data. We don't want to leave it where it is because we don't want to pay for a license. Well, here's my method. Here's what I recommend. I recommend you pay for one license for an account and you call that an archive account. So you'll see here we've got our archive account, and this account basically becomes the dumping ground for all of your past employees' data. This is the one place where you're going to move all the data to. Now, the great thing about this is it only consumes one license, no matter how much data you put into that account. Of course, you've got things like data limits to think about, but for most people, if you've got 5 or 10 or 20 staff in your business, you're going to have plenty of data available unless you're a hardcore data user. So I create one account and I call it the archive account. And we set this up for all of our customers when we're doing migrations and cleanups of their user accounts in their business. And when I go to delete a user, what I'm going to do now is I'll hit the delete button and I'm going to choose to migrate their data, but I'm going to migrate their data into, I haven't done this one in a while. I'm going to migrate their data from, let's go all, I might have to do a custom date to get all of their data. And I just migrate everything. That's my policy is keep absolutely everything. I'm a pack rat. I go select users. Cool. And then I'm going to select the user that I want to migrate. And in this case, it's going to be from Isa. I might have to actually put in the whole email address. Oh, Google Workspace email. There you go. Cool. Great. Add them to the user list. All right, I'm assuming it needs me to... Why is it not letting me into that twice? Okay, I'm unsure why that's asking for password there, but perhaps you need the password. I haven't done this in a very long time. Actually, I don't think I've ever personally gone through from start to finish using the Google tool. Now, that's the first step. The first step is you migrate that person's email data, and then you go back to directory after you've checked that that was successful, and then you can delete the user, right? We're going to transfer all their other data to where? To the archive mailbox. Include everything, and then we're going to hit delete user. Poof! After the migration of all of their documents and calendar events, that user will be deleted. Now, that's a pretty straightforward process that works pretty well, except for one thing. And the one thing is that migration tool that I showed you, Google's one, is not amazing. It's not amazing. I would say use it if you have to, but there's a better way. The better way is to actually use our service to migrate. The reason for that is that we use third-party tools. Now, you can go and find and research third-party tools yourself. We've got some other videos on migration. There's a few that we recommend. We've got a particular method that we use with a particular tool, which makes it very efficient, no downtime, very fast, no risk of data loss. My strong recommendation is if you have not yet considered our services, go chat to our team, consider signing up for Concierge, because we just do this for free as part of the service. You let us know who wants to be migrated, we get them migrated. But the Google tool, if you don't mind troubleshooting some errors every now and again, my team tell me every now and again there's errors that you've got to kind of like work through, or it doesn't capture all of the data, so you've got to double check and make sure it's all come across. If you're confident with that, the second part of the process, which is this bit, is flawless. This bit's fine, it's just this Google migration tool is not amazing. But that's effectively the method. That's all you need to know. So you're going to migrate that data, you're going to put it into one archive account, and then once it's in that archive account, the user is deleted, you no longer have to pay for a license. So that's the answer. You don't get to retain their email itself, but you do retain all of their data. That's basically the end goal, retain all their data. And what then happens to the email address, you might ask? Well, you can do whatever you want with that email address. You might choose to set it up as an alias for another user, right? So if you want that email address to keep working, maybe there is a one-for-one replacement in the business and you want the replacement to start receiving that person's email from now forward. Well, we would do that by setting up an alias. Let's say Aldrin is going to take on that person's email. I would go into Aldrin's account here. And under user information, I would add an alternative email address and I would type in Isa. It's not going to let me do that now because she's got an active email address, but I would add it as an alias to another user there. And then when there's an alias, it means that any new email sent to this email address is going to go to that person's mailbox. Now, that may be what you want to do for other business staff. You might decide, no, you know what? I'd rather just have like a bounce back. So the team, don't receive any of this person's old email. You just delete the email address and the alias or their email address is gone, so no one will receive anything. Or the other option is if you've got a shared mailbox, and we recommend setting up shared mailboxes like info at or support at or orders at or help at yourcompany.com. That might be the best place to set up an alias for that email address so you can still receive the emails to somewhere. Okay, lots of options there for this person. Hope that answered the question. I'm going to go ahead and mark that one off. Okay. So, and of course, if you need help archiving users, my recommendation is sign up to Concierge. My team do it for free. You can send us a chat or you can send us an email on a Friday afternoon and say, hey, this person is just finished for the day or they're finished with their business. Today's their last day. Can you suspend their account immediately? And on Monday, can you archive their email? Well, actually, if you ask on a Friday afternoon, the team will probably set up the archival and then by Monday, it's probably going to be done already and you don't even have to worry about it. Okay, so we have a live question. I'm going to cover a live question first from Ian. Are you able to give an update on Google's AI tools and suggested best ways to use those, please? Sure, I can give a very brief update on Gemini. Gemini is starting to get good. It's starting to get good. I can't say that I'm using it every day yet. I maybe use it a couple of times a week at the moment. GPT is just so far ahead on comprehension and the kind of things that I need it for, like writing a script for a video. It's just got such a deeper ability to respond and communicate with natural language. I end up defaulting to GPT most of the time. I know it's my job to eat the Google dog food, and I will as much as possible. But there comes a point where I have to get work done, and I'm going to use the best tool. I used Gemini for months and months and months, and just found that it just was like Pepsi to Coca-Cola, really. I don't know which one of those you like, but you know what I mean. Whichever one you like. There's one that's the real deal, and there's one that's just number two. So what I am using Gemini for is I've started testing using it for meeting summaries, and it does an okay job. The Google transcription is flawless. So if you add Gemini to a meeting, it's going to use the built-in transcription tools. It's going to give you a summary of the meeting. I do like that. Although, to be honest, I've got to admit, I'm also using an app called Fathom. So Fathom, let me show you that, is a note-taking app. Where is it? Here we go. Fathom AI. Fathom.video is the URL. And I've got to say, this does a much more impressive job of note-taking. It's been dialed right in for doing notes. And right now it's better. Now, is it going to be better forever? Probably not. I think Gemini will probably get to the point where it exceeds, all these secondhand note-taking apps, and effectively they'll just become, what do they call it? They built a feature, not a product, and we'll just end up using Google. But for now, Fathom is better. So I am liking using Fathom right now. What else might I use Gemini for? We have tried using Gemini. I know this is kind of a list of things that I'm not using it for at the moment, but regardless, we've tried using Gemini. We tried using Gemini for generating images in slides. So CEOs putting together a slide deck, wanted to put an image as a background, and because Google got in so much trouble for all of their weird race-charged images that were coming out, they basically switched off the ability to create most meaningful images that you could use for a slide presentation. So, when we say, hey, we're looking for a happy team, it just won't generate images of people. So it flat out refuses. So what am I actually using it for? I do use it in email. When there's an email, I can click a button and have like a summary of a long email chain. It's pretty useful for that. If I've got something that's already in a Google document that I want to summarize, it's slightly faster to use Gemini than it is to cut and paste it into GPT, make the changes I want to make, and then put it back in. So if data is already sitting in a document, I am using it for that. If data is in a spreadsheet, for example, there are some tools that Google's automating in spreadsheets that are Gemini-based that are useful. They're mainly just those little helpful prompts that pop up. So I've been using it for that. Apart from that, it hasn't been heaps, apart from for testing purposes. From time to time, I've used it for a document in Google Drive where I don't know what the name of the document is, but I know roughly when I opened it and I know who I shared it with. So rather than trying to make that search query work inside the Google Drive search pane, I will just run a search inside of Gemini. And I'll see if I can show you an example of that without sharing too much personal information. I'm going to try and find my history here and bring it up. Oh, here we go. Great. So this was quite interesting, actually. I asked for data from within a presentation, from within a transcript. So our team had an all-hands meeting recently, and what I wanted to do was I wanted to grab some of the highlights from that meeting. I knew the data was in a document somewhere, but I didn't know exactly where it was in the slide presentation. And this was a 2-hour meeting, so it was a bit hard for me to trawl through the transcript and try and find the right stuff that I wanted to find. So I asked Gemini, I said, hey, tell me some of the business highlights from our latest T4 presentation, which is our monthly all hands get together. And it brought these back. It gave us the company growth rate, told us about sales targets, identified some challenges, solved a bunch of problems. Some of this is a bit vague. They solved a bunch of problems. Thanks, Gemini. Wow, great insight there. But there was at least some real data, which came through from that, which I thought was pretty impressive. So I'll be candid with you that most of my testing has still been for the purpose of answering that question for our audience and for our customers. Is this actually useful or not? I can't say that I'm going to Gemini every day to use it for things, and especially not like I'm using GPT. GPT, I've got a keyboard shortcut. I've got the app downloaded to my computer. It's fast. It's on point. I don't have to ask it a question 3 times to get the answer that I need. I can ask it once, and in most cases, I'm getting exactly what I need from it, which is great. The only downside right now of GPT, where Gemini does win, is for more up-to-date information. GPT seems to have these cutoff dates that move forward and closer to real time, but are in effect, stuck in a certain point of time. So if I ask about something that happened in the news a week ago, or if I want to ask, who's Ray Gun, it's not going to show those things up for me. So, I've got to use Google and search for news articles, or I've got to go and use Gemini, which Gemini does an okay job of that. But I'm pretty sure I opened something like a couple of days ago in Gemini, and it couldn't even find that for me. So maybe I'll open that as an example as well. Let me find Gemini. Let me open up Gemini. Okay, now I'm going to go into my history here and see if I can find. Oh, wonderful. Okay, cool. So I saw something on, I think it was Twitter or something like that. Someone in the US senator had made a comment around childless cat ladies, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. I wonder what the issue is around that. I wonder what the issue was around that comment. But Gemini couldn't help with this because they said that they can't help with elections or political figures right now. I'm going to assume this is because Google are very, very worried about election interference and content on the internet being fed into the app that is then going to create potential risks for democracy, which is a fair enough risk. So Google are treading pretty carefully with this. In many areas, they're treading carefully at the moment. So that's Google. The unfortunate thing is, for me as the end user, I don't really care about Google treading carefully. I just want my answer. So to me, that's a poor experience in the app or the service that I want to use. But that's what we got. That's what we got right now. Okay. Ian has another question. Google Photos reportedly updated with some cool new features, including video by taking a photo, 3D images, and then a video. I have not seen all of those myself. I saw there was an interface update on the app, and they also released a bunch of new features alongside the new Google Pixel. So they may eventually come to the rest of Android. I've not yet tested any of the video features, and that's more on the consumer side of things, which I've got my head less plugged into. I try and stick more to the business side of things. But if anyone else is on the stream and wants to, post some links or anything cool about that, please go ahead. I haven't tested them myself yet, but jump into the Google app. I'm sure they'll update it and give you little prompts on there as well. Okay, so here we go. Next question on our live questions, ask.itgenius.com. I'm planning on outsourcing my job to save costs and focus on my side business. That's interesting. I wonder if this is a business owner or an employee. Well, here we go. This answers it. Will my boss be alerted if someone from a different country and IP address logs on? We use Google Workspace. I love this because this is hilarious. The nature of work is fundamentally changing. And everything I hear about the concept of overwork, which is people having 2 or 3 jobs at the same time for different employers and basically pretending to work a 40-hour week for multiple people, taking advantage of lax security and lax monitoring of IT systems, and effectively cheating employers by working for multiple people. Now, some people are just literally doubling up their work and working for multiple people. Some people are hiring downstream contractors to do their bidding for them, which I think is hilarious because we are in the process of a global democratization of talent right now. And that labor all over the world is participating in global commerce. And where previously you had to be a big business to, set up a call center in the Philippines or, make outsourcing work, it's been accessible to small businesses for a number of years now, and it's just getting easier and easier and easier and easier. And our business model is basically built on this arbitrage that is happening in the world right now. We've got an amazing team of talent in the Philippines who are experts with Google and everything tech, and we're selling to, for the most part, high cost of living, fully developed economies and countries. Now, the interesting thing where this comes into the workplace for workers is, if you've got a worker who's working from home, how do you know that they're not farming their work off to somebody else for a lower rate and therefore, taking advantage of the arbitrage themselves? You kind of don't. And so I think that whole thing is just hilarious. People having multiple jobs and then staff members subcontracting out their work that they're supposed to be doing for 40 hours a week. And we've tried to embrace it. You can try and take the approach of locking these things down, of control and command, but the reality is that these things are gonna happen, and this is the changing nature of work which we have to reckon with. And what's been interesting to us is where we've gone to an employee who perhaps is on a 40-hour week, right? And a good example is someone who's delivering videos to be edited. We've got some employees who will happily do their 40 hours for us. They're not interested in another job. They're happy with what they get paid. They deliver their work well. They perform well. They hit the KPIs, and there's no issues, right? There's no issues. But then we've got some staff who don't perform. They don't hit their KPIs. They don't actually get the work done. And what does traditional business say we should do with those employees? Traditional business says that, okay, we should get rid of that employee and find someone that can perform. But what if we went to that same employee and we said, okay, well, instead of me paying you 40 hours per week, how about I pay you X dollars per video? I mean, you can go on Fiverr or Upwork and hire someone for X dollars per video. Freelancing, contracting, right? Why don't we go to that same staff member and give them the same option? Hey, all right, I'll pay you X dollars per video. Now, in some cases, that's worked really well for us. We've mostly experimented with things like thumbnails, where we're looking for someone who's highly specialized, but we don't have 40 hours a week worth of work for them. But what's stopping a whole business moving to a model like that? If you've got someone who's got repeatable work, you've got talented pool of labor that can actually get the work done for you, what's stopping us moving to more of those models? And I think that's going to be very interesting over the next 5, 10, 15 years as AI shifts a lot of our jobs, as people need to be more valuable, particularly in the professional services and information workers sectors, because those are the people who are going to be most disrupted by AI. And then you have this global democratization across borders where you can get access to talent anywhere in the world easily now. And because we're all using Google Workspace, you can get work done together easily from home or from different locations. Well, I think we're going to end up with some pretty interesting work situations and models of engaging with staff. And I think the businesses that embrace different ways of thinking are going to be the ones that succeed. Because like all markets, everything's going to even itself out. And these changes and these disruptions will come to your industry eventually. And you can either be someone who's being, innovated around or disrupted yourself, or you can be one of the people who's on the front foot and actually leading that change. So I would say keep an open mind and look for different ways where you might be able to shift things. Now, to answer this question on a technical basis, I'm going to answer the question on a technical basis here. Can someone see what you're doing inside a Google Workspace account? Yes. Every Google administrator can see the IP addresses of someone logged into their Workspace account. We can see where someone's logged in, where they're signing in from, where they're accessing documents from, where the Google Drive is signed in. So all those things can be seen. Now, hashtag I'm not a lawyer, but I will give my opinion on this. If you're outsourcing your job to someone else and you're being paid to do a job, you're probably going to run afoul of some of the agreements that you have with your employer. Like, you're the one who's supposed to be performing the job. That's probably in your employment agreement. Next, if you're breaching company data, you possibly are putting the company that you're working for at a pretty big risk, because there's privacy laws, data security laws. Depending on the industry that you're in, there may be compliance issues that pop up if personal information of your clients is being shared outside the business. You can't necessarily secure the way that a contractor is handling that data. And you may even be sharing that data on an unsecured or an unencrypted messaging platform of some sort. And that can create some pretty big risks for a business. So if you're an employee in this situation, my advice is have a chat to your employer. I mean, I don't know how that one's going to go. Like if my staff member came to me and said, hey, can I outsource my job to someone else? My first reaction would obviously be, well, why don't I just pay someone else less? But my second reaction is more important and a bit more nuanced. My second reaction is, sure, build a team under you. If it's not costing me any extra, or maybe I'll help you fund building a team under you. If we can do things more efficiently and get more done because we can use low-cost labor to get that done, and they're talented, and we're going to get the same result in the KPI, and we're maybe even going to get more done for the same amount of money, sure, I'll fund that. And if we can double productivity, I'll give you a raise. So if you're a business owner in the situation, you can see where I'm going with this, and that is that to be open to those new business doing things in different ways. We're in the reality now where millennials expect that they will work in a job that's flexible. And you've got a pretty good opportunity as well, if you're a business owner, to look at your labor and talent resourcing in a more flexible or a more creative way, because there are some pretty interesting things happening in the labor market right now. And if you want to scare the crap out of yourself, go on Reddit and search for a subreddit called Overwork, or it might be called Overworking. But effectively, that is a community of people who are working 2 or 3 professional jobs and being paid 2 or 3 times a normal salary and pretending to work 40 hours. And that subreddit discusses all of the strategies on how you can pretend to work for different employers and use a little hardware device that like jiggles your mouse so it looks like you're active for large companies that employ tracking software on their team's computers. Anyway, lots to talk about that. I'll save you guys the full dissertation and seminar on that one. Okay, but great question. All right, cool. Here we go. Next question on Google Workspace. I was wondering how I can give my secondary domain its own email. Okay, that's a good one. We've got about 300 videos on the channel on setting up different domain names. So I'm going to cover this one just in a minute or two. If you want to set up a secondary email address, you head along to your admin panel and you go to the domains menu, and there is a manage domains page. And you'll see here I've got a number of different domains that are set up here. When I add a new domain, I've got a couple of different options. A secondary domain, which used to be called an add-on domain, allows you to create different email addresses across different domains. So if I set up a second domain here, I don't know, itgenius.ca for Canada. I assume .ca is Canada. There we go. I can set up that secondary domain, and I can set up email addresses using that secondary domain. I can even set up aliases under my account using that secondary domain. Cool. Now, if I set up a user alias domain, everyone in the company automatically gets an alias. So everyone will use the primary domain in the business, but every single person will get this .ca domain as well as a backup. Now, the only downside to the upside of this option is the convenience. If you just want one that is an alias for everyone, like .com.au, we no longer use. But some of my customers from forever ago might still email me at .com.au, right? Now, I've got 60 people in the company. So I don't want to have to go and set up an alias for every single user and every new user that I add. If one of my customers doesn't know that we're on .com and they're in Australia and they think Australia is the center of the universe and they type in .com.au when they type in an email address, it just automatically adds that email address to every one of my users. Convenience is the main reason you would use a alias domain. A secondary domain, formerly called add-on domains, are when you have different groups of staff and you decide, hey, we've got this other brand and we want this person to use this brand as their primary email address. So there you would use that. Maybe, I've got itgenius.com, but I've also got onsitehelper.com. So that's one of our subsidiaries Right now, they're in a separate Google Workspace account, but if we decided to consolidate those into one account, we would add that as an add-on domain. So people can sign in and use this as their primary mailbox. It's called a secondary domain, but on this user, as far as that user is concerned, it's a primary domain for that user. Now, where is that helpful? Well, you can't send a calendar invite from an alias. You can send an email from an alias, but you can't send a calendar invite from an alias. So if someone is truly wanting their brand for their user account to be that second domain, you would use a secondary domain. That's the simple way of deciding between the two. Okay, I want to use Workspace to replace some expensive hosting programs. I use Google Email, Drive, Docs, Forms, and Calendar. I want to connect to my Outlook email, personal email, and websites. Can you help me get it done correctly and quickly without having to slug through the learning curve? Yes, that's exactly what itGenius does. Thank you for asking. Yes, if you want to get set up, if you want to migrate data, if you want to configure all the settings, and if you want to get trained, that's what we do. That's our service, and we have tens of thousands of customers that we've serviced over the years, over 15 years, helping people get set up, get started, migrate your data, and get going Google Workspace without having to slug through the learning curve. Now, the curious thing I'm interested to know is replacing expensive hosting programs. I don't know if this person's on the live stream here or not, but Google obviously handles your email. Drive is your file storage. So if you have Dropbox, you can get rid of that. Docs, if you're using Microsoft, you could get rid of that if you want to go all in. Not everyone gets rid of Microsoft completely, but if you wanted to go all in, you can absolutely get rid of it. Forms are great if you're using, I don't know, SurveyMonkey or something else. You might use Forms. And then what do we got here? Calendar is an obvious one. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The only thing that Workspace can't replace is website. Unless you build a website in Google Sites, which is a pretty shitty place to build a website. You would only build a website in Google Sites if you had no other option, or you have no website right now. It's better than no website. Let me put it that way. Not much better than for anything else. It's just better than no website. But that's Google Sites. Okay, cool. All right. I've been using a Workspace account that was given to me during school. Today I received that your account has been deactivated. I want to know, can I still have access to my private Google Drives folder? Well, if you're in an account in an organization and someone else has disabled that account, they will have to re-enable that account for you to get access to anything that is in there. Unless you synchronize that Google Drive down to your local computer. If you did do that, then the non-Google files, like your Microsoft files, your I don't know, PDFs, MP3s, video files, all of those will be accessible on your local computer if it's synchronized. But anything else, no. You've got to get access to that account with the administrator switching it back on. Considering this is a school, I assume you could contact the school and say, hey, can you just reactivate my account for a moment? Let me get back some of that data and that stuff that I had in there, and they should be able to help you out. The IT administrator is usually pretty friendly. But you have to move quickly because once a Google account is deleted, it can only be recovered for about 2 weeks. Sometimes a tiny bit longer, but it can usually only be recovered for about 14 days. And you've got to do that through support. So if it's been deleted, it may be gone for the second, but if the administrator reaches out to support, they can usually get it back within 14 days. Our team has a direct line to Google where we do these all day long. But that's my recommendation there, is to reach out. You're going to have to get it switched back on again to get access. Okay. If you're on the live and you want to ask a question, drop it into ask.itgenius.com and I'll answer for you live. Okay. My team currently use iWork pages to create, oh God, an Apple person. I'm an Apple person as well, but this is a real Apple person. I want to put my SOPs on Google Drive, but notice that iWork pages aren't able to be saved directly to Google Drive. Is there a way to keep documents in pages format and upload them to Google Drive? No! No, do not use iWork. Do not use numbers. Do not use pages. Do not use keyword, please. Number one, these are very old document formats. They're lovely to use, and Apple's programs and Apple's engineering team do an amazing job of crafting their applications, so they are an absolute pleasure to use. However, they suck for collaboration, and there's no online real-time collaborative editing or anything like that. There's no option to put them in Google Drive. I think you might be able to put them in Dropbox, but you can't put them in Google Drive. It doesn't work. You could share them with iCloud, but then you run the risk of having conflicting copies as they synchronize manually between different machines. Total mess. And if you're growing a scalable business and you want to, I don't know, hire somebody who's not in the same office as you, then those document formats fall flat very, very quickly for someone who might not be on Mac, for someone who may have to, I don't know, wait for it to synchronize. Maybe they don't have a great internet connection. For someone who's maybe traveling and wants to work with them offline, then you need to deal with reconciling different changes to documents. If you are still using iWork or Apple's document suite, now is the time to switch over to Google Documents because Google Documents will give you everything that you need to be able to actually collaborate with your team members. And they've got all the fancy AI and integrations and all the other cool stuff that comes with Google. So if you're still using iWork, it's time to ditch it. Sorry. Okay, great. I don't have anything else to say about that one. How can I add more than 20 users to my domain? That's pretty easy. You just add them. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any SKUs that restrict users anymore, unless it's a business SKU. But that's like 300. The cap on that's 300. So. Or maybe that's 200. Maybe they missed a zero. If you are trying to add more than 200 users to a business account, you have to go up to enterprise. There's not much way around that. Maybe if you're a multinational and you've got you buy 500 enterprise licenses and then you want to buy like 300 business licenses, yeah, we might be able to ask Google nicely and they might help you out with that. But pretty much everyone's being thrown onto, and to be honest, if you've got more than 200 people in the business, you should be on enterprise anyway. If you've got more than 50, 100 people in the business, enterprise is pretty much the way to go because of all the additional security features and data security and everything else. Okay, next, are you open for partnerships? Yes, but we're very, very choosy about what kind of partnerships we take on. Okay, if you'd like to submit a question, go ahead and submit a question. I've still got some time, so I'm going to go ahead and fire up our YouTube comments and see what I can find and see if there's anything good that I can answer. This is mind-blowing. I love comments like this. This is mind-blowing. And then here we go. We get like both extremes in the comments. The next one, as far as public offerings are, this is pure garbage, totally worthless. Some people say that I'm pure garbage and my videos are pure garbage, which hurts my feelings. Okay, let me find some good comments here because I actually saw a couple here. This one I just want to acknowledge, but I don't have an answer for. How do I remove an account that has offline access enabled? I need to enable my current account for offline access. I don't actually know the answer to that one, but if someone does who's watching the live stream, maybe you can put it in the comments. But what I would recommend is you go to your sign-in here. You go to your sign-in in your Chrome profile and you create a fresh Chrome profile. So you just hit the add button and then sign in again, and that should create a fresh Chrome profile for you. I think that might help. I can't say for sure, but I think that might help. Cool. Okay, let's see what else we got. I'm sure I found some good ones the other day. Okay, cool. Here's an interesting question. Suppose I'm added to a shared drive. I'm the manager. Apart from that, there's no other members added. It's only me. Now, if I upload files, will anyone have access to the files or be able to see them? Can the organization or someone above me get access to these if I'm removed from accessing it? There's no other members apart from me in the shared drive. The short answer to this is yes. If you've got a shared drive, it lives underneath a company, right? It lives underneath a Google Workspace account. So any shared drive is going to be accessible by the super administrator of that Google Workspace account. So even if they're not a member right now, they can add themselves as a member. And this is what it looks like. So if you are you're here in your admin panel. So admin.google.com. I am going to open up my shared drive settings. That doesn't look like it. That doesn't look like it. Shared drives, maybe. Okay, let's just go into my Google Drive settings here. Okay. I know there is a shared drive management here somewhere. Let's go into the drive and docs. Here we go. Okay, so inside the settings for drive and docs, so apps, Google Workspace, drive and docs, we've got manage shared drives. And here as a super administrator, what I can do is I can choose any one of my shared drives. I can open up, here we go, someone's created a test. I can go manage members, and if I want, I can add myself or anybody else. That's the wrong email address, but you get the idea. So I can add anybody willy-nilly to this shared drive if I wish, and that means effectively as a super administrator, I've got full control of this. Now, for most things in the Google world, as a super admin, I can pretty much do whatever I want. If I've got an employee and I want to read their emails, I can just reset the password in their account and I can log in. If I want to see what chat messages someone's sending to someone else in a direct message, which many people think are private, I can log into Google Vault, which stores a copy of every message from every account. And even if someone has deleted a message after sending it, I can still find that inside Google Vault. So effectively, a super administrator is that. They've got access to absolutely everything within an account. So if you're an employee or someone else who's part of an account, then expect that anything inside Google Workspace is accessible by the administrators. Okay, good question. Jamboard is end of life in the next few months. What are my thoughts on replacement that integrates nicely with Workspace? I'm going to do a more formal video on this. I've been testing out Canva for a whiteboard, and I've also used Miro boards as well. Have I used FigJam? I'm not sure. I might have used that one once. We've used Figma once or twice. I don't have any clear winner that I absolutely love yet. Canva's whiteboard works great. If I want to have a collaborative space where multiple people are working, works great. Miro seems to do the same thing. In that case, where there's multiple options and all of them are paid, the bottom line probably comes down to what are you already paying for? Canva, I'm already paying for because I've got a Canva account, my creatives use it, we've got a couple of paid licenses for it already, so we're probably going to end up using Canva. Does Miro have a few extra options that Canva doesn't have? Yes, but my philosophy is if you've got a tool and it does 80% of what you need, rather than doubling up for another subscription just to have the best-in-class tool, it's probably smarter for you to work with the one that's 80% of the way there. So that's my recommendation. Look at what you're already using. Try out a couple of them. I'll do a more in-depth video on it soon and try and help you to identify what are the good bits on each of them. But I haven't had any real standout features that I think are absolutely amazing on any of them. It's really just can I draw squiggly lines with my iPad pencil? Yes, great. Can I drag and drop and move stuff around in a freeform canvas? Yes, great. Okay, it's fit for purpose. I'm still bummed that my Jamboard will eventually stop working very soon, actually, in a month or two. It will become a very expensive red brick, which I'm very sad about, and I think it's a terrible waste, but that's Google. That's Google sometimes. Okay. All right, let me see if I can find any other good comments. Otherwise, I think we'll wrap this one up. I've got some other videos to record. What is your process if you own multiple franchises? I saw your video on how to set up email, but you didn't answer my question. Interesting. If you own multiple franchises, I'm assuming this is a person who owns multiple franchisees, in a franchise. they are a franchisee and they own multiple franchises. I assume they're not the franchisor or the owner. And so if that's the case, how would I set up email? Probably under one Workspace account. The question they're asking here is, I'm assuming, should I have it under one account or under two accounts? Maybe they're asking that. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing at the question here. If you own multiple franchises in a large franchise group, and the group is responsible for the email, and we've got many customers like that, either they're a member in a group and they don't control head office email, or maybe they are head office and they've got lots of emails to control for everyone else underneath. If you're a franchisee and you own multiple franchises, you can forward those emails in to your Google Workspace account that you own and you control. And you can still send, receive, reply from the franchise email, like maybe you have an Anytime Fitness franchise. You can still send and receive from those mailboxes. You can't send calendar invites from the mailboxes though, which is a real bummer, unless they're using Google Workspace for head office. So if you've got a unique particular situation like that, chat to our sales team, because we handle these kind of things all the time. Okay. This channel is the best source of information for everything for Google Workspace. Thank you. That's a very lovely comment. All right. Yeah, Apple devices plus Google services is the ultimate cheat code. I agree. I used Android for a number of years, and somehow it's just got that feeling of like bugginess. The apps crash every now and again. The interface is not completely fluid. Apple just nail human interfaces and really, really solid, tight products. So yeah, I got rid of Android. I went back to iOS. The Google apps on iOS are flawless, absolutely flawless. So that's why I stick to it. All right. I'm going to do one more if I can find one that's interesting. Okay, cool. Here we go. Shared drive question. I'm starting a shared drive. I don't understand why we create one shared drive and all the subfolders for the teams under that. Why do we create multiple Google shared drives for the teams? It's so you can get just slightly more granular with the permissions. If you have one folder and you want to share, read-only access to the whole team, but not to contractors, and maybe you want to share the ability for executives to edit and delete files, but middle management to be able to contribute and edit files but not delete anything. You can't do that across your company, across different permutations of permissions, if you've got everything under one shared drive. They need to be split out into multiple shared drives. Okay. That's it. I'm going to wrap it there. Thanks so much for joining. If you're on the live, say hello. If you're on the replay, say hello as well. Catch you in the next one. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have not yet done an audit with our team on your Google Workspace account, click on the link down below this video. Go and sign up for a free consultation. Ask the team for an audit. Most customers that come to us say the same thing. Pete, I've got Google Workspace. I set it up years ago, or someone set it up for me. I don't know if I'm getting the best out of the platform. I don't know if I'm getting the most out of it. I don't know if I've ticked the right boxes in the right spots in the admin panel to make it really sing. And our response is, for most people, yeah, you missed a few things and we can make it better. So do that audit with our team. There's a complimentary audit. If you just want to do a real basic audit, they'll check just the absolute critical, like cybersecurity things. Make sure you're not leaving a backdoor open for people to get access to your account. Making sure you're not exposing your data publicly unnecessarily. Have a chat to our team, do a basic audit. If you want to do a more in-depth audit, they've got a paid product as well for a more in-depth proper audit. And then if you need to fix just one thing, jump to our website. You can go to Quick Fix, so itgenius.com. You can even live chat to our team if you're unsure whether or not they're able to fix something for you immediately. You just click on the little link down the bottom here. It says bot, but it's actually real people behind there. There we go. We are online. So there's real people there. You can start a conversation and start chit-chatting with the team straight away. And if that doesn't tickle your fancy, you just want to get started, just click the Quick Fix button and you can go ahead and get started. If you've got things that you need fixed immediately, that's an instant IT support service. Very affordable. It's like 200 USD for a single issue. And that team might spend hours fixing that issue for you. Like, I don't know, maybe your printer's broken, or I don't know, you need to tidy up your DNS records, or you need to get your permissions right in Google Drive. Our team will do all of that. Single issue only, but that's called Quick Fix. And then the other option is, if you want us to do things more often for you, if you want us to manage onboarding and offboarding of your staff, if you want us to build automations for you, if you want us to do anything to do with any one of these apps, we support all of these apps and more. We can build things for you. We can connect things for you. We can fix things for you. It is all you can eat on Cloud Concierge. So lots of different services that we have available there at a very, very, very affordable price. So jump on a concierge if you've not yet considered that. If you're interested at all, just click on free consultation. You can schedule a call with the team. We've got an amazing team, both in Australia and the US. We don't have European time zone just yet, primarily Australia and US right now, but we'll get Europe stood up sometime the next, I don't know, year or so. We'll get there. Tell your friends as well. Thanks for joining the channel, and I will